In April of 2004, my father became ill, and we weren't sure that he was going to make it through the next week. It was important for me to let my father know what his life meant to me. There was no reason to tie up loose ends and say things that had never been said or needed to be said or I wish we could have said, because in our family we've had the opportunity to share these words. There was no loose ends to tie up, and I was grateful for that. No reason for any goodbyes, because we don't believe in the goodbyes. Maybe see ya tomorrow, but no goodbyes. So I wanted to write a letter to my dad to let him know how important that he was to me in my lifetime, and how the lessons that he's taught me have been they've been good. And I truly believe that he is one who will hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." He has always taught us that words are extremely important. He's taught me that our tongue is like a two-edged sword, and the words that can come from your mouth can be cruel, and they don't need to ever be cruel, tearing people down. But make sure that the words that you say are always uplifting, always encouraging, and are always sowing seeds into other people's lives. That's what he's done. Done that for many years, for many people. And I want to read to you. It's a very important lesson that he taught me. "Judge not, lest ye be judged." Don't judge. That is what my dad taught me. When I moved back home as a young adult for a short time, I attended Belmont Church occasionally, a church that was shunned by the church that I grew up in. On Sunday mornings, when my parents would get up and leave to go to their church, they would wake me up in hopes that I would go to my church. Before my time at Belmont Church, Don Finto, the pastor, had received judgment from the church that he loved very much while he was seeking God's fullness for his life. Later, he moved on and founded Belmont Church. My dad told me about the great respect that he had for Don and how he continued a relationship with him during that period. My dad did not judge him. My dad knew of all the outrageous things we did at Belmont, laying hands on the sick to heal them in the name of Jesus and reaching out for whatever it is that God has for us. During my stay at their home, I began to marvel at the new eyesight that God had given me and the words of knowledge that I was given to share with my dad when I couldn't even explain it myself. One night, he confronted me with his Bible. Though I could not state the scriptures exact, I could ramble a few truths from somewhere in there, and he would recite and find the passage right away. Two stubborn people, strong in their faith, can be a horrid sight at sometimes, and that particular debate was not a pretty one. I knew that he was struggling over judgment in these matters, but it was not near as strong as the love that he had for me. finally, this biblical scholar, who was so angered from not having one argument left to stand on, asked me, "So, what makes you so smart?" In shock, I replied, I didn't understand it either. And I prayed for knowledge and understanding, and God gave it to me. He simply shut his Bible and stated, "I can't argue with that." And he went to bed. My dad could no longer judge. When I was a child, we attended a church with families who didn't have as much comforts as we did, though by no means were we well off. My mother did not work, and she had time to fuss over the details of our Sunday attire. One Sunday, maybe on Easter Sunday, Richard and I had our clothes just all right for the occasion. My hair was probably up in one of those buns with those little curls around my ears. And after church, on our way home, my brother and I were discussing another child's clothes from the church, which came across as cruel as children can be at that age, around 9 and 10. This girl had worn a hand-me-down dress with the bottom cut off raw from a pair of scissors, and an old pair of tennis shoes. And my dad pulled the car over, and he turned around and stuck his finger in my face and said, "You don't judge." Along with several other words of wisdom. I can remember his finger in my face as if it were yesterday. And the thoughts that were running through my head, and how I didn't mean it the way it had sounded. I couldn't take back the judgmental comments. All that I could think about was how I really loved this other child, and how I didn't mean her any harm. My love for her was much stronger than the superficial material items that were now causing me so much embarrassment. My daddy taught me not to judge. My dad was born out of wedlock, and he carried a load of judgment that no child should ever have to bear. The name that he wears, Northcutt, is his mother's maiden name. I couldn't even begin to write down the burdens that he had to endure from his judging peers. I do know this is another one of the many lessons that I have reaped as he has sown into my life. I remember one of my dad's sermons on Father's Day on a name. He taught us to give a child a name that he will always have to live up to, and not a name that he could never live down. My dad had great respect for his grandfather, who helped to raise him. Grandfather Northcutt, he was an elder, a teacher, a store owner in Spencer, Tennessee. And my father wears his name well. I'm very proud to use Northcutt for the name of my business, and I feel that it is a name that I will always have to live up to. My dad broke the curse of his own judgment. He taught me that judgment was reserved for the judge.